is Fall Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man who knows exactly what time it is, even though it doesn't really matter in places like Duncan, Bojangles, and the All Coast Conference. He does more than shoot hoops and turn left. He goes to meetings. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. How the hell are you?
Man, I gotta tell you, if it wasn't the ACC preview today, might have a little bit less energy. Like it's been a week. I'm pretty gassed as we speak, but excited to talk about my ACC boys. All Coast Conference, we're here. We're ready to mount up.
Yeah, I was just sitting there thinking like Cody needs like one of those Adam Gase smelling salts to kind of get through this.
Dude, you're not kidding, man. If you think I haven't already thought about investing in some smelling salts just for the desk, like you don't know me well at all.
That's my desk is like some people do other things on their desk. They drink coffee and other things, and I do smelling salts. It's just false start.
Look, man, I think that it's not the worst idea for me to have some smelling salts and then someone to just John Hendo slap me right after I take a hit of the smelling salts. Like I think that's the only way I can get up at this point.
I feel that, man. Yes, the this kind of parlays into something that happened to me yesterday. So I'm back at my apartment, Midtown's 10 minutes away, still doing the dog sitting. So I went to go get some coffee yesterday because like there's little like K-cup pods and like doesn't work for me. I need a whole pot of something delicious.
Yes.
Back here, I needed that. So I'm like, you know what? There's a Starbucks right around the corner. I'm gonna go get there. Well, they're renovating it, and I'm like, well, S. So I turn the corner and I go to Dunkin' and I look at this and I'm like, do I really want to go to like a standalone Dunkin's in the middle of Midtown Atlanta? I did, and that was an adventure.
I mean, anywhere in Midtown always has the chance of being an adventure, but Duncan on a Tuesday morning, I some adventure or Wednesday, excuse me. God, see, that's where my head's at. I have no idea what day of the week it is. It could be any day, but Wednesday morning, like that's midweek, everyone needs their Duncan.
I walk in there, and the people behind the counter were not amused. And what made the matter worse was this guy came in there wearing, ironically enough, North Carolina basketball shorts, just a very popular brand. He looked like one of the Wayans brothers from Scary Movie, and he was asking for, you know, free food or the bathroom. They're like, no, no. It's like, well, can you at least tell me what time it is? And he goes like 10:38. He goes AM or PM.
Oh my God. Hey, you know what? That's the vibe. That's the vibe right there. That's how I'm feeling. Is it AM or PM? I have no clue, man.
Yeah, but at Dunkin', like you can get whatever you want any time of the day. Same with Bojangles. Although I want to like fly you some Bojangles and just heat it up. I think that would probably change your life. Like, can I get you like a Bo box for Christmas or something?
Legitimately would love every second of it. Bojangles, I miss you, sweetheart. Soon I'll be coming back to you.
Yeah, I know. I will make sure to gift wrap it with in the Paul Finch satin kimono. Yes, we've all started a little bit here. We're going to go with some first and 15. This is the fourth of our Power Four previews. We'll do G5 on Monday's episode, and then on Thursday we'll kind of do like a whole all-encompassing thing ahead of week one. We also are going to be going semi-live after Georgia Tech FSU on
Mhm.
Saturday for 3 yards and a cloud of punt. Going to Marty ball it with some run,
That's
pass,
right.
punt. It's going to be absolutely electric. But yes, the Paul Finch and the definitely maybe. Who needs a satin kimono? And where were you while you were getting high on this team? Who is wearing the satin kimono for you in the ACC this year?
Yeah, it's someone who I think probably actually has a satin kimono, and that's Dabo Sweeney and the Clemson Tigers. Um, I like, can you really rule it out that he has a satin kimono? I can't. But I think that when you look at this team, there were a lot of people who were super high on Cade Klubnik coming into last year. There were a lot of people who thought, oh, he's a huge upgrade over DJU, given his recruiting pedigree, given everything that we've seen from the quarterback position over the years at Clemson. He wasn't it. He wasn't it. And I don't think he was that good. I legitimately think that Phil Maffa might actually be an upgrade over Will Shipley. Like, I think Will Shipley's a good player, but I'm not sure he was a great fit for the Clemson offense. But I do think that they also lost a little bit on defense. The defensive line's still going to be good, but I worry about the secondary a little bit. Losing Nate Wiggins is a big loss for that defense, considering what I watched him do in the secondary in the ACC last year. I think the defense might be a little bit worse. I still don't have faith in Cade Klubnik. Maybe Garrett Riley is not the wonderkin that we thought he was. So, like, I have some real questions about this Clemson team. And I will give Clemson some credit here. This is a definitely or this is a kind of like every team at the top of this conference is threading the satin kimono, definitely maybe kind of line. Like there's no clear separator in the ACC, which is kind of wild.
Yes. I had three satin kimono caliber people, and Clemson was my tertiary. I have them going 9-3, 6-2. I have them losing to Georgia. I have them losing to looking across at my win-loss totals. And I'm going to be writing that for fansided.com here. That's going to be coming up this weekend, probably right around the time of Florida State, Georgia Tech. Got to get that in there pretty quickly. But yeah, losing at Georgia, at Florida State, and at Virginia Tech, all very losable games. I like Phil Maffa. Cade Klubnik is the DJU you have at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really the big thing is Dabo is absolutely a CEO type. He's essentially a more elevated version of Brian Hartline in some capacities.
Yeah.
Same sort of level of coach. They're both outstanding at what they do, but like, losing Jeff Scott, we're getting him back now that he's been crushed by Tampa. But losing Tony Elliott and Brent Venables doesn't help.
No.
Brandon Streeter didn't take. Now he's getting a rehab under Kirby at Athens. So it's like Garrett Riley and Wes Goodwin, just not good.
No, it's
no,
not. It's
no.
not. And then I think the other thing, like, you say Dabo is like kind of like Brian Hartline in terms of being a CEO type. There's one key difference. Brian Hartline has no problem going into the portal and getting what they need, where Clemson obviously does not have that. Like we've watched this Clemson offensive line over the past few years suffer because they're not going into the portal. They're not being aggressive. And I think one of the things that frustrates me the most about Clemson, like I have no love for Clemson. Let's be clear. Like I'm not a Clemson fan by any means. Obviously, look at what I'm wearing, but like no love for Clemson coming from my end. But at the same time, like it's frustrating to see a program that should be better than they are just actively shoot itself in the foot. Like if Clemson was a player in the transfer portal, they could get just about whoever they wanted. It's particularly in the Southeast footprint. Like you look at an Alabama transfer, you look at a Georgia transfer, Clemson would be in the mix for all those guys if they want it to be. They just don't want to be, and it's actively hurting them.
That's what's most frustrating. Like they can elevate. I mean, Florida State's elevating, but like Clemson doesn't have necessarily the academic restrictions as others. They have, you know, they're still in the midst of like arguably their best run to date. I mean, although Danny Ford back in the 80s was really good too,
Yeah.
but like they can do this. It's not like, Mike Norvell needs to use the portal to supplement the crap that they couldn't recruit. Now they're starting to do a good job there, but like he's using that to, accelerate their return to prominence, whereas Clemson's just being insanely stubborn here. But so my satin kimono, another team I don't like, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
I think Brent Key is, yes, Brent Key. I almost said Brent Pry. We'll talk about Brent Pry. Just a lot of Brent's going on.
The Brents in the ACC get me every time. I have to take a second every time before I say one of their names. I'm like, is this the right Brent?
Yes, I think Brent Key is the right fit for Georgia Tech. I think Haynes
Mhm.
King's a good player, potentially a special player of the ACC. Schedule's awful. Schedule
Mhm.
is horrific. Like I have them going 5-7, losses to Florida State, at Louisville, at your boys North Carolina, Notre Dame, at Virginia Tech, Miami, and at Georgia. That's brutal. That's just
Yeah.
absolutely brutal. Like this is a team that we think highly of in terms of like not being Jeff Collins and not being the end of what it was with Paul Johnson, but like this is just probably the toughest schedule. I mean, one of the most toughest schedules in the ACC. I feel Georgia Tech is kind of behind the eight ball here, and it's unfortunate, but like it may be a sheep in wolf's clothing.
A sheep in wolf's clothing. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think this is the kind of like the shining example. There's teams like this every single year that we see, but like their 5-7 is not indicative of like a problem. Like if this team goes 5-7, like you're projecting, like yes, it's gonna suck to not make a bowl game, especially after making one last year. But at the same time, like I imagine that even in those losses that you just routed off, there's going to be some where they're super competitive. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be just getting the doors blown off every single week. So like I think long term, we're still like optimistic about what Brent Key is going to do at Georgia Tech, but I'm kind of right there with you. That schedule's tough, and like this is still isn't a roster that's where it needs to be to compete consistently in the ACC.
Yeah, I have them beating NC State, but they got to beat your guys to get to bowl eligibility with the challenges that sit there. Anybody else you have that was up for the Satin Kimono? Because I had one more besides Clemson.
Yeah, so I feel weird putting this since it is a newcomer, but I'm a little dubious of SMU. I'm just not quite sure they're there. Preston Stone was fine last year, but I think Preston Stone benefited quite greatly from playing in the AAC. I think playing in the ACC, it's going to be a little bit of a wake-up call. I don't think the offense was nearly as good as what we've seen from SMU. And then what really saved SMU and had them in the mix as one of the better group of five teams last year is they had a really damn good defense last year, but they lost a lot of pieces in the transfer portal. They lost some pieces to the draft. So I think the defense is going to take a step back. I don't have faith in Preston Stone to really elevate the offense. So I do worry that SMU is going to have kind of a rude wake-up call to the ACC. And looking at the odds, they're the fifth favorite in the conference. So like there are people who are high on this team.
Yes, this is another perfect example, like Clemson, where like you could put the kimono, or they could be definitely maybe. It's
Hmm.
right there. The other one that I had for Paul Finch was NC State. Again, a very tough schedule. I feel
Hmm.
Grayson McCall is a great quarterback. We want to see, what he can do in Power Four competition. We really like Dave Dorn, but like there hasn't been this much like hype and support around NC State uh, probably since after that really good sophomore year with Philip Rivers and Chuck Amato way back in the day. So
Right. Yeah, it's been a minute.
yes, so we're gonna move on, and I'm gonna give you my definitely maybe, and that's SMU. I am all in on the ponies,
Okay.
dude. I am all in
Okay.
on the ponies. I have them going 11-1. I have
Oh
them,
wow. Okay.
yeah, 7-1. Um, my thought is yes, Preston Stones could be elevated beyond like what he is, maybe a bigger profile. The two things that stand out to me with the ponies is I think Rhett Lashley is a fantastic coach. He knows his conference well, having been at Miami. Miami hasn't been the same since he left. And more importantly, I think SMU wants more than anything to move up. And anytime anybody changes conferences and wants it, like they want to, like the TCU effect, like TCU really
Yeah.
wanted it and they got there. Whereas, like if you're a reluctant partner, maybe not so much. But yeah, I'm really high on SMU this season.
And I can't fault you there. Like, there's a reason SMU wasn't my top pick because I truly don't know what to make of this team. So like, it could go like you said, like they are the perfect example of they could go either way, and it's just it kind of depends on what your vibes are. Mine happen to be a little more negative, but in terms of definitely maybe teams, I'm going with Virginia Tech, man. I think Virginia Tech is damn good.
Yeah.
They One of the things that has been sticking out to me the more I think about it, this is a team that returns 21 of 22 starters from last year. Like that type of returning production you don't see, and that's from a team that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, went 7-5 last year in the AC, in overall. And so like you ask a young quarterback in Kyron Jones to build off of that. You ask a team that is experience laden to come in under a coach who we like in Brent Pry, who I think is the right man for the job in Blacksburg. Like I think this team has the experience level. I think they have the upper end talent level, particularly on that quarterback and also on the defensive side of the ball, to really make some noise and really challenge some of these teams at the top of the conference that, frankly, we do have questions about. You talked about NC State. We have questions about them and that's a tough schedule. We talk about Clemson. I'm down on them. So like they have a chance against Clemson. Florida State, we don't know what this is going to look like with DJU. So like I do think that Virginia Tech has a window of opportunity.
Yes, I have them as my secondary, definitely maybe. I have the Hokies going 10-2. Brent Pry is really building it's almost like I mean, you don't like with Justin Fuente, it's like how do I sustain, Beamer ball, I retain Bud Foster. I don't even know what he's doing anymore. Hopefully you're living your best life out there, Bud. But yeah, Brett Pry is like, okay, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna recruit the Tidewater region. Uh fantastic. Learned a lot of great things there from James Franklin at Penn State. Has the quarterback he needs. There's a lot of hype on the Hokies, and I
Hmm.
don't know if they were ranked in the top 25, but they're right there. And
Hmm.
yeah, they're all in on the Hokie Stone. Plus, I'll run to Lars with this team, dude.
Oh, absolutely, man.
So, anybody else you have up for definitely maybe?
I'm gonna be honest with you, not particularly. The other teams are kind of like They're not definitely maybe. I think they just are at the top of the conference that I would mention here. And then I think there is a precipitous drop off to the second tier of the ACC.
I'll pause it one more. My tertiary was the Boston College Eagles. Again, I think
Okay.
Thomas Castellanos is special, and also the same sort of thing. I think Jeff Halfley always recruited very well, or like developed. Maybe he got
Mhm.
burnt out by it. Bill O'Brien's a hell of an offensive mind. I think he just go into a place with like lesser expectations than the Houston Texans or the Alabama Crimson Tide or just that sad bag of crap there in Foxborough. I think BC, I have them going 8-4 and 5-3 in conference play. I think they're going to be a lot of fun.
And that's a good call by you. There's a world where BC definitely takes a leap up under Bill O'Brien for those reasons you mentioned.
Yes, and it may be cold up there in Chestnut Hill, but it's getting hot in here. What ACC coach enters the season on the hottest of seats? Who all else could be up for getting the axe here? Who do you have for potentially going bye?
Yeah, bye bye bye. Unfortunately, and this is probably the second or third year in a row that I've said this, but Tony Elliott, like it's kind of put up or shut up time. Like we've given Tony Elliott the proper amount of credit for how he's handled everything, the tragedy that happened with this program, the tragedy that the university and the program went through. But at the end of the day, like you're paid to win football games, and they haven't been winning football games. Now we're going into this season where Anthony Calandria, the Whoopsie Daisy King, he there's a chance he's not the starter after playing quite a bit as a freshman last year. There's a chance he's not the starter, which feels like a very weird call by Tony Elliott. And I don't think Tony Elliott has necessarily earned the benefit of the doubt. So if that quarterback decision goes wrong, we're talking about a team that I don't think is going to be that good, even if they started Calandria. But now you're like putting yourself behind the eight ball. I just think the pressure's really on Tony Elliott to at least compete for bowl eligibility. And I'm worried that they're not going to have the horses to do that.
Yeah, Tony Elliott's my first choice. I have them going 3-9. Their
Mm,
wins are Richmond, Coastal, and over your boys because that's a huge rivalry game for both
yeah.
teams. So that's totally within the realm of possibility. But
Hmm.
when you're going 3-9, that's the opposite of 10-2. It's 9-3, but cross. So you're even worse than 10-2. Like
That's
you're not
right.
going anywhere with that. So yes, I'd be utterly shocked if Tony Elliott got a fourth year there in Charlottesville. I had four others listed: Pat Narduzzi,
Hmm.
uh, Troy Taylor, Mac
Hmm.
Brown, and Dave Clawson. I think Pat Narduzzi. If Pitt goes under 500, they got to make a change because it's just becoming toxic. Mac Brown, although I do have your boys going bowling, he may just retire, do
Hmm.
whatever it is, and I don't have Wake having a good year. I don't think they're going to fire Dave Clawson, but like they're going to be like, okay, maybe we've ran, you know, maybe the slow mesh has run its course. Maybe it's just what's slower than slow mesh? Just a fence.
Yeah, fence. Yeah, it's a chain link fence. The chain link
Yeah.
offense.
And then with Troy Taylor, it's like I don't think they're going to fire him, but I think Stanford's going to have a rough year. I think they're the worst team in the ACC next year.
It's definitely close. The only other, like, so I literally had that exact list as well. The other one I threw on there, and it pains me, and I'm sure it's going to pain you to hear, but Justin Wilcox.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I think it is in the cards for Cal to have a rough year as well. I mean, Cal and Stanford, like, on top of not being high-end Pac-12 teams last year, they're now going to have just absolutely brutal travel schedules this entire season. So, like, all coast conference. Now they're having to travel to the East Coast like 2 to 3 times a month. Like that's not going to be an easy thing to handle. We like Justin Wilcox. I think Justin Wilcox, if he were to get fired, is going to have a multitude of job opportunities, both at the pro and the college level. But I just think maybe Cal is might be searching for a change after this season.
Potentially, like I think he'd go be like a defensive coordinator pretty quickly, like and then reinvent himself. I mean, hell, come to Athens if Glenn Schumann leaves. Like, I would.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm not quite the fit there. Maybe T Rob gets it'll be like Tom Allen. Like he'll get hired immediately.
Hire him at North Carolina if Matt Brown gets fired. Hell yeah, let's go, baby.
Yeah. Um, I do have Cal going 7-5.
Okay.
I think people are going to really struggle playing there for whatever reason. And there's also one player on their team that's really special, Jaden Ott, who I kept calling Zach Ott. So Jaden Zach Ott.
Jaden, Zach, Jay-Z. That's
Jay
Jay-Z out
Z,
there at Cal.
H to the Jizzo, B to the Jizzo.
But no, you're right. I mean, like, I'm not saying Cal is devoid of talent, and like there is a world where they do have success. I just I know what I saw last year from Cal. They underperformed quite a bit on quite a few different occasions. And you add in the travel schedule, like I just worry about what it's going to look like. And I think if they don't hit that 7-5 mark, if they don't go bowling, then Cal might turn up the pressure on Justin Wilcox a little bit.
Yeah, we're talking like a third of the league could be fired here conceivably or let go. Any other thoughts before we move on here? I feel like that's pretty straightforward, kind of coming up
Yeah,
empty here.
yeah, I honestly I don't see a world where Matt Brown gets fired, but he's again one of the octos or near octos that we're talking about who could be like, "Hey Mac, there's the door. Would you like to go out of it? But you can send a nice retirement letter on the way out." Like, I think that's kind of how that would probably end up.
Bubba Cunningham walks in there and says, "What if I told you I could get you something like a blue plate special? Better yet, a Carolina blue plate special."
Yes, sir. They're serving dinner at 4. Let's head on over there.
That may make its way onto a future installment of Graphic Design is My Passion. The Mac Brown blue plate special. Serve dinner at 4.
Oh my God.
But as a proud North Carolinian, what would be on the blue plate special? It's like a meat and three. What would that be?
So I'm gonna go country fried steak with gravy. Obviously, you gotta have that. Then we're gonna have some green beans. Got to be cooked with the bacon and the onions, or else it's not good green beans. And then I think you're probably gonna throw some mac and cheese on there because we enjoy clogging our arteries in North Carolina. Like that's just a big thing for us.
Yes, and then green beans, mac and cheese, country fried steak. You'd probably get a biscuit there.
Oh, the biscuit was a given. That's not, you don't even consider that part of the dish. You're just getting a biscuit.
You're just getting a biscuit. This is false start, and I'm really excited for this weekend. With football being back in our lives, and I'll be sitting live on a couch. Maybe not Eric Crouch's couch. Hopefully, I'll have a biscuit in my hand. But which three ACC players do you think are serious contenders for the Heisman Trophy? Let's kind of remove Riley Leonard from Notre Dame from the
Okay.
equation. I think that that's its own separate thing. Yes, duh. Like
Yeah. That was gonna be my question is, are we including Notre Dame in this conversation? I think we're keeping Notre Dame a little bit separate from the ACC conversation, for obvious reasons. They're not in the conference, but they do get lumped into that a lot. But Riley Leonard would be one, but my number one, if we're not including Riley Leonard, that's Cam Ward. And I think that Cam Ward is special. The only thing that I think is going to keep Cam Ward from Heisman conversation is Mario Cristobal, and that's just point
yes,
blank. Like,
100%.
yeah, and it's like that is not an indictment of Cam Ward. Like I think Cam Ward is a tremendously talented player. I think Cam Ward is in when you look at the roster, a great situation. But like, is Mario going to want to go to a pass heavy offense? We don't know. Like he's typically not wanting to do that. Like we saw it with Justin Herbert at Oregon. Like he was still like, hey, we're just going to run the ball. So and they have Damian Martinez. They brought Damian Martinez, which worries me there. But I do think that in terms of talent, Cam Ward has the chance to just elevate himself over the rest of this conference. And so I have to include him as the number one Heisman candidate.
Yes, he's my number one as well. It was easy, just didn't even have to think about
Hmm.
it. I'm like, there's only two things that can slow him down: Mario Cristobal and maybe some handoffs there to Damian Martinez. I kind of feel that like it's interesting we didn't put Mario Cristobal there on the hot seat. It's like
Hmm.
I think we're both like the talent's just too good. Like he'll have like the Dino Babers pop year where he goes like 10-2. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
like it would be utterly shocking. Like it could flip pretty quickly. It's kind of like Ryan Day there with Ohio State, but like way, way, way more variance.
Way more variance. And then I also like I know we talked about it previously, but like his buyout is still pretty sizable even after this season. So like it is one of those cases where I'm like, are they gonna cut like a favorite are they gonna, cut ties with a favorite son for that amount of money? Given how he's recruiting as well, like I don't know. Like I feel like before Mario would be on the hot seat, it would be okay, we're putting all your coordinators on the hot seat again, and like you're getting one more chance to get these hires right. And if you don't, then you're gone. Then the pressure's on you. But like I do think that like Mario is going to be given the longest leash possible at Miami specifically.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't see the offense being bad under Shannon Dawson, but yeah, if it does, like they'd go with that. I have no idea who Miami's defensive coordinator is right now, but It's
Me either.
we
It's
we we, we
okay.
cover so many teams. We're gonna miss some like very obvious. He's like, you guys are so stupid. I'm like, well, yeah, that's why we're doing the show.
We're absolutely the dumbest people on earth. Anthony, no, wait, that's the Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator.
The
Never mind. The quick Google didn't work out for me.
quick gigs. So okay, so you both got Cam Ward one. Uh, my number two is Kyron Jones, Virginia Tech quarterback. That's who I've got. I think that like we're gonna know his name. I think Virginia Tech's gonna have a great year. I know Brent Pry is more of a defensive minded coach, but I think Virginia Tech is going to be they're getting better with every year, whereas like the Who's are just stagnating there at just crap with basically just flatlining there with Tony Elliott. But yeah, I think Kyron Jones there with Virginia Tech could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I also have Kyron Jones at number two. So
Yeah.
I think we're both high on the Hokies this year, and Kyron Jones is a big reason why. Like he came on and got better with each game last season. And like he is obviously a tremendously talented player, a versatile player. And not only that, but again, he's coming back with so much experience around him. Like one thing that can hurt a talented quarterback is if you're just like having to like gain a rapport with all of your new teammates and all of these new players that were going to be playing on the first team offense with you. He doesn't have to worry about that. He has an offensive line that's more than capable of protecting him. He has skill position players who maybe not like the best in the country, but like they're experienced and they're solid players. And so like Kyron Jones is in a very advantageous situation coming into the 2024 season.
I think just being on an ascending team in a conference that's still up for grabs, I think the maybe not necessarily the brand name recognition for him is going to be there, but like people are like, oh, did you see what Jones did? Or Kyron
Yeah.
Jones. Like also you could stack it because it's this no, never mind. That's five letters and six. We can't do math right now, but it looks cool.
Hey, I'm just ready for the ESPN call of like him taking a deep shot and scoring a touchdown. And they call it a drone shot. Like that's what you need. Like that's perfect branding. We're ready to go.
I feel so bad that RG3 couldn't say something dumb about
Dude,
this.
RIP to RG3's ESPN tenure. We shall miss you.
Yeah,
Especially as Alex Orji becomes the starting quarterback at Michigan. Like, come on, man. We're missing opportunities left and right.
yeah, we are too. It's like it's unfortunate. He's got that big Penix energy. Probably gonna work for NFL Network. They probably need to hire somebody. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
He's got that big croissant energy. I don't know if you saw that picture from Paris, but
I think that I don't believe in coincidences, but I believe in correlation. Maybe there's something with that.
potentially.
Oh no, a little bit about French, a lot about croissants.
We.
Wait. All right. Who do you have for third?
For three, I've got Grayson McCall, which again, if you've heard me talk at all about NC State this year, that should not surprise you at all. But very high on Grayson McCall. I think getting him in, like into NC State, getting him in this program where you have a guy like Kevin Concepcion on the outside, who I think is one of the better, one of the more underrated receivers in the country. I think that Grayson McCall is going to be better protected than he was at Coastal. Like we saw him get banged up over the past couple of years, and I think that was a Coastal problem. Also, losing Jamie Chadwell didn't help him do him any favors. I think he's going to be in a much better situation. And this is a player we've seen put up tremendous stats with much worse talent around him. So I think that Grayson McCall is now in a situation to kind of bounce back. I don't think he's going to be an NFL draft prospect. He's a little small. He doesn't have the throwing mechanics necessarily, but I think he's a damn good college football player. I'm really high on NC State. We're about to talk about that, I'm sure, but like I'm very high on NC State, and I think that the fact that NC State is going to be led to that point by Grayson McCall, I think is going to do him a lot of favors in terms of a national conversation.
I'm not as high at NC State as you. I don't actually have him listed. I felt really bad about it
Yeah.
just because like if NC State's an 8-4 team, like I don't see it. But I feel that like he'll be better than Devin Dennis Leary for
Yeah.
sure. I think a good comparison for Grayson McCall is kind of how we feel about Michael Pratt with the Greenies now at the Packers, where it's like, oh, the dude can play. We've
Mhm.
been telling you, we saw him kick some serious tail at the G5, and like Michael Pratt's probably going to be Jordan Love's backup because Sean Clifford's a walking stiff more than Kyle McCord, who that's the only time he's going to be referenced on this show today.
Yep. I can assure you I did not list Kyle McCord as any type of Heisman candidate.
No, sir. But yeah, I didn't have Grayson McCall there, and I wanted him to, but like it just I'm not. The schedule is really tough for NC State. My third pick was Damian Martinez, running back for
Mhm.
Miami. I think that like he'll probably be first team running back in the conference. He'll be in contention for the Doak Walker. I don't think he's going to be as good as like Ollie Gordon the second or Trevor Etienne or no, I'm blanking on somebody else too who's really good at pounding the rock right now. Jaden Zackott.
Jaden Zackott, yeah.
But yeah, I think yeah, Damian Martinez with the Pacific Northwest Step Brothers backfield is going to be a lot of fun. Oh, yeah, I forgot Travion Henderson and Quinshot Judkins. I'm an idiot. Donovan Edwards too. Yeah, Dylan Edwards, Dylan Donovan Edwards.
Dylan Donovan Edwards, yeah, the Edwardses.
Too much Edwards is sounds like a terrible babysitting adventure gone awry.
It sounds like a B-list Pearl Jam track or something like that.
So funny story. So in my neighborhood growing up, a house that was a couple of houses down where the Edwardses, they had three daughters, just Barbie hell, and
Oh
all the
God.
dad wanted to do was just drink Coors Light and grill, and just Barbies everywhere.
Hey man, that's how it always goes. You get the man's man and he's gonna end up with three daughters. There's no question about it.
He may have invented cornhole. I'm not sure. All right, who do you got for fourth?
So for fourth, I have Omarion Hampton, who you did not mention, but who is North Carolina running back. And honestly, if he wasn't on the North Carolina Tar Heels, he would be higher on this list because I truly like legitimately not trying to even be a homer here. He's one of the five best running backs in the country. He is unbelievably talented. And if North Carolina does anything this year, it is going to be two things. One, it is going to be the defense improving under Jeff Collins, which is a big if because I'm not entirely sure Jeff Collins knows what a football field or what a football team is. And it's also going to be Omarion Hampton carrying this offense on his back. Drake May kind of overshadowed how critical, how vital, how good Omarion Hampton was last year for the Tar Heels, but he was legitimately just a dominant force. Like he had multiple 200-yard rushing games last season, cleared 1,000 yards comfortably, and like kind of erased the narrative. Like the previous year, Drake May was the team's leading rusher. Omarion Hampton blew that out of the water because he is that talented. He is that good. He is going to be a bell cow. They are going to feed the rock. He might touch like Derrick Henry levels of number of carries this year because let's not forget Max freaking Johnson is the quarterback of this team. So like we're going to want to run the ball. So like I think like if North Carolina is able to get to a 9-9 win level, which again, that is very unlikely in my personal opinion as a North Carolina fan. But they do have a relatively soft schedule. I will say that. And so like if they are to get to that point, if they are to overachieve, which that's also a North Carolina trait, whenever they're expected to be bad, whenever I'm expecting them to be bad, they're going to overachieve. The flip side is also true. Whenever you think they're going to be good, like last year, they're going to underachieve. But if they do overachieve, I think Omarion Hampton is going to be the reason and get the credit for that.
Yeah, I did not have Omarion Hampton on here. Fantastic player. I just don't think North Carolina is going to be that good. I do have
Mhm.
them going bowling at 6-6, right there. So yeah, you're going to keep that alive there, but staying alive there in Chapel Hill. So I was thinking about this with Max Johnson. Like he's got college football pedigree. He's the son of a Super Bowl champion and the nephew of the ultimate driving machine, Mark Richt.
That's right.
So like I think North Carolina's offense is going to be a little better, but again, just like losing Drake May, and you're like, I don't know if the defense is going to be any good under Jeff Collins. Just like Jeff, just the least confident way to spell Jeff. Like every time I see Jeffrey, I'm like, is it Jeff Furry or Jeff Ray, or is it Joffrey? It's that's why my name is John. Like we don't do none of that nonsense.
What if you spelled it Geohn? Would that work for you?
If somebody named their kid that, they need to go to Guantanamo Bay with Baby Gronk's dad.
Amen. Amen to that.
So Omarion Hampton, is it Omarion? Is that how you
It
spell
is
it?
indeed. Oh yeah.
You know what that's an anagram for?
What's that?
No Mario.
No Mario. No Mario.
I Ramo. No.
Oh my God.
God, this episode is so dumb. But yeah, my fourth pick was Preston Stone. I think SMU is going to
Okay.
have a great year. Brett Lashley is a former quarterback. He does a little more than a hurry up and run with Gus. They throw the ball. Did good stuff there with Tyler Van Dyke, Derek King back in the day. I think that's how that lines up. But the point is, like, I think SMU is going to have a good year, and if SMU is going to be a top 20 team or so, and they're doing work in the ACC. I think he'd be a consideration. Like again, this is just like at this point, like none of these guys really have a shot of getting New York, but like that could be fun. Maybe there could kind of wish they had the guy that is replacing Quinshaw Judkins at Ole Miss. What's the running back's name?
Ulysses Bentley, the
Ulysses
fourth.
Bentley. Yes. Yuli Bentley. Yuli Bentley fourth.
Yuli Bentley fourth, baby.
And who'd you have for five?
Yeah, it's not Preston Stone, I can assure you of that. But no, it's DJU. And honestly, if I'm being just full disclosure, this felt obligatory. Like I had to get him in the top five. Didn't really want to. I'm not the biggest DJU guy. I think he's going to be a drop off from what we saw from Jordan Travis last year at Florida State. But end of the day, he is walking into a great situation. End of the day, he did show some level of progression at Oregon State. Like he was a better player at Oregon State than he was at any year at Clemson. So I think that there are some stars that could align for him to elevate into something close to the player that we thought he was going to be when he was coming out of the high school ranks as a five-star recruit. I'm not confident in that happening, but I do think that like DJU has elevated himself a little bit and he's now walking into the best situation he's ever played in my opinion.
I almost included him, but I chose not to. I feel he's going back into a house of horrors. Like, okay, he's playing in Tallahassee. It's a house of horrors for them from being at Clemson. Then he plays Clemson. That's another house of horrors. So like, this is just how I feel about Sam Darnold in the NFL, who I think absolutely sucks. It's kind of how I feel about DJU, but not as mean. Again, he's still a kid, so like I'm not gonna like harpoon him there. Yeah, I went on the Simon and Friends podcast and I just said just the worst things about the Vikings. And,
Hey, Sam Darnold's basically still a kid. Dude's still only like 26 years old or something like that.
I know I'm just like I kind of want to give him a hug, but at the same time, like the
You might
ginger
get
gene.
mono.
I've already gotten that before. I think I'm immune to that.
Okay, cool.
The difference is I got that at like 19 years old versus 23.
Not your rookie season in the NFL.
Making out with God knows what in Tribeca.
Amen, brother. Who hasn't been there? Who among us?
And my fifth one was Thomas Castellanos. I feel he's going to
Mm,
be a lot of fun there. In Bill O'Brien's offense, we saw he be the guy that got Bryce Young to win the Alabama's first quarterback to win the Heisman Trophy. I think Thomas Castellanos is going to be a lot of fun. So that's kind of who I've got there for my top five. Who is your sleeper?
So my sleeper, it was between Thomas Castellanos and Malik Murphy, and I went with Malik Murphy. And just because I think under Manny Diaz, a guy that we have a lot of respect for, and he's also inheriting a decent-ish roster. Like it's not the best roster. Obviously, they lost Riley Leonard and had to bring in Malik Murphy. But I think that Mike Elko had the defense working in the right way. Manny Diaz is someone who can continue that. But I think Malik Murphy is just a really talented player. And like this is kind of Duke is kind of an unknown team in this ACC. Head coaching turnover, quarterback turnover, a little bit of roster turnover. Like we don't quite know what Duke is going to be this year. But Malik Murphy, I mean, he was a highly touted recruit. The only reason he's at Duke is because A, he's a smart kid and wanted to go to an academic institution. He looked at his transfer portal stuff when he was coming out away from Texas, and it was like, well, these schools don't really match his talent level. He clearly wants to challenge himself academically. And then, but like he transferred out of Texas because they have Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. Like it's not because he's bad. It's just they have two other great options, one of whom is younger than him and Arch Manning. So like it made sense for him to make the move. So I am curious to what he's going to do. And if it makes Duke anything above what they're supposed to be, then Malik Murphy is going to get some love for that.
I did consider Malik Murphy. I have Duke going 7-5. Schedule's really tough. They got to play uh, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina State, and Virginia Tech. So like, and SMU too. Like
Yeah.
they got to play a lot of real. They got to play basically the entire upper crust of the ACC. I think Manny Diaz is going to be fantastic there at
Hmm.
Duke, and I think he's going to coach there for 3 years, and then he's going to go to a bigger job. Like he'll go to like I'm not saying go back to Miami, but like if Norvell leave, maybe I think Florida State's actually his alma mater, so maybe he goes there. Like Manny Diaz got a raw deal with Miami, and I still feel really bad about how that all transpired with him.
Oh no, and no, I don't even know if this is a bold take at this point, but just go ahead and book Duke upsetting Miami. That is happening this year. That is absolutely on the table.
That's totally within play with the spite game. I don't know if I went quite there, but yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. Um, something also I think Malik Murphy's better than Arch Manning. I've seen enough.
It's entirely possible. Like what is Arch Manning? We have no clue.
It's the same thing with Eli Manning. Like, was he good? Well, he's going to Canton.
Yeah, but was he good?
um, the most attractive of the Manning brothers by far.
That's right. The lowest bar, but yes, correct.
So let's recap this, and then we're gonna go on to
Did you give
playoffs.
your
You can.
sleeper?
Oh yeah, my sleeper is my sleeper is Jade and Zach Ott. Yeah, I feel really high
Okay,
about them. I was like, yeah, if I got Cal going 7-5, why not? So
absolutely.
yes, my top five and sleeper were Cam Ward, Kyron Drones, Davey Martinez. We're doing fingers correctly today. Preston Stone, Thomas Castellanos, and then Jade Knott.
Yeah, and so we had the same one too. I had Cam Ward and Kyron Jones. Number three, I had Grayson McCall. Number four, Marianne Hampton. Number five, DJU, and then sleeper Malik Murphy. So I think this is very indicative of the ACC's place in college football as a Power Four conference this year. They are definitely the worst Power Four conference. Like, if I'm being legitimately honest with you, Cam Ward is the only one of these players who I feel has a legitimate shot to get to New York. And I'm not going to project that because as you'll see very momentarily, like I don't have Miami playing for the ACC championship. So like if that's the case, then I don't see how he gets to New York.
I think Cam Ward's got a really good chance at New York. We'll do our Heisman ballot this time next week, where we'll just do our top three. He's very close to making it for me. I'm still trying to. I think we both know who our number one pick is. Then
Yeah.
try to round out the last two, and then we'll probably say, okay, who actually gets to New York with them? Yeah, I think Cam Ward's got a really fantastic shot to get there. If he kicks serious tail, he'll be a first round pick.
Yeah.
More so than Connor Wegman. Yeah.
Yeah. That's for damn sure.
I wonder what Matt Miller thinks of Cam Ward.
He probably doesn't know he exists. He only knows Shador Sanders.
Who is this Cameron Ward guy you speak of? Doesn't he play for the Carolina Hurricanes?
He's a terrific goalie. I love him so much.
Doesn't he have a brother? God.
Oh my God.
Imposter syndrome doesn't exist, so you can do anything.
You can do anything because Matt Miller does anything.
We love the all of you. Keep doing great work, man. I love the content. You've got some good stuff there. It makes us think. But yeah, DJ Daniel Jeremiah, the guiding light for this.
Move the sticks always.
Move the sticks, and we're gonna move the sticks because playoffs. You're kidding me. So who's who's going to Charlotte? Who's playing the ACC Championship? Who else is a playoff contender? Go ahead. I think I know where you're going, Cody.
It's NC State over Virginia Tech in the ACC championship game for me. I've been on the NC State train a while. I understand their schedule is tough, but I think that they're going to go into ACC play battle tested. Week 2 is one of my favorite weeks of the season, and one of the reasons is we have an NC State Tennessee game at a neutral site. I am so excited for that game. I think it's going to be a big test for NC State. But even if they lose that game, it's not going to prevent them from getting the ACC championship game. I just think that when you look at Dave Dorn and you look at this NC State roster, even with the tough schedule, I just have more confidence in them playing to their ceiling more consistently. Like you look at what Clemson's done in recent years, you look at what Miami has done under Mario Cristobal, and you look at the talent drop off that Florida State is going to experience from what they lost from last year. I just think that NC State is in a much better position to maintain what they showed last year and potentially improve upon that with a guy like Grayson McCall coming into the building, as opposed to a Brennan Armstrong, which didn't totally work last year. And they still found a way to do it, even having a quarterback carousel. They still found a way to be an 8-4, 9-3 team. So, like, I think if you can elevate from that with more consistency with Grayson McCall, I think this NC State team is going to be hard to beat. And we've already touched on Virginia Tech. Like, most experienced team in the conference in terms of the returning starters. Kyron Jones is a real playmaker, someone who we have a lot of faith in. I think that I just have more faith in both of these teams, even if they aren't the favorite. Like, neither of them are in the top two favorites. Like, that's obviously Clemson and Florida State. And then you have Miami lurking right behind them. Like, I just have more faith in both of these teams and what they're bringing back than I do in any of those top three favorites.
I like both of those teams. They're both in the top third of the conference. I don't have either of them going to
Nice.
Charlotte. I've got Miami over SMU.
Okay.
Yes. Miami have one loss that's at Cal. They'll lose like somewhere along the line. I think that like just the offensive firepower. I can't talk right now. It's early. Yeah, we're already on the second cup of coffee in case, that's kind of a running bit here. I'll always have two when I'm home, but I'm never home.
That's right.
So yes, we are living our best life here. But yeah, I think just the combination of Cam Moore and Dave Martinez is just too much for really anybody else to sniff at in the ACC. SMU, I think, just they want it badly, and there's just kind of feels sleepy, and like they'll get people and they'll kind of knock other people down. I'm interested to see how many teams you think can actually make the playoff in the ACC.
So much like the Big 12, it's who can conceivably make the ACC championship because I firmly believe even more so than the Big 12, the ACC is getting one team in. They're not getting multiple bids. We talked about it when we did the Big 12 preview. It was, do you think the Big 12 or the ACC is more likely to get multiple teams in? I still think they both get one in, only one in, but I think the Big 12 is far more likely to have at least a chance to get in. But if we're talking about teams that can get to the ACC championship game, I have five. And I'm not including SMU. And you know what? I'm not gonna, flog you for it, but I think it's a wild pick to have SMU in the ACC championship game. But I love it. We're here to get wild. But Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Virginia Tech, and NC State. I think those are the three teams that can win this conference, or five teams, excuse me, five teams that can win this conference. And I think there's a drop off after those five teams. Like I think SMU is just a tier below them. I understand that they want it. I just don't think that wanting it's going to be enough.
Yes, I have the same five teams plus SMU,
Yeah.
obviously. The cutoff after that is like the Boston colleges and the Cals and the Dukes and the Louisvilles and the UNCs of the world. And then you get down to like Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Wake, Pitt, Virginia, Stanford, and you're just like, oh, this is just getting worse by the nanosecond.
Yeah, I actually wanted to bring up Louisville real quick. Like, it's kind of wild that we have not mentioned anything about the Louisville Cardinals this year. And it's Jeff Brom, coach we're very high on, coach that we think is going to have Louisville really humming. But like, is your, I guess, like middling feeling about Louisville, is that really Tyler Shuck related? Because it is for me.
I'm probably a little more bullish on Tyler Shuck. It's kind of like, Tyler Shuck and Alec Bowman are one of the same. They've just been in college forever.
Yeah.
Um, I just kind of feel that like we're gonna keep not discounting Louisville until they get back. I just feel like they arrived a year early. A lot of times when that happens, it's hard to replicate that because you're not what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're not come sneaking up on anybody.
Mhm.
Think back to my Atlanta Falcons. I thought the year that they were going to really do it was 17. Well, in 16 they went to the Super Bowl. 17 they were a wild card team. They lost to the divisional round to the Eagles after upsetting the Rams. But like it's just I kind of feel like Louisville will be a bowl team for as long as Jeff Brom's there. But
Agreed.
again, like having to play Kentucky in the non-conference is tough. I think they have a challenging schedule too. Looking at this, oh yeah, they got to play Notre Dame,
At
SMU,
Notre Dame
Miami,
too.
Notre Dame, SMU, Miami, Boston College, Clemson, Kentucky, Jacksonville State's not easy. Georgia Tech's not easy. So I mean,
I
you
mean,
have to be, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I know you have Stanford as the worst team in the conference, but they have to go to Stanford. Like, that's not
Yes.
an easy road trip, and that's after the Clemson game. So, like, that's a trap spot. Like, if Stanford wants to like circle wins where they can like knock someone off, that's one that I would definitely have late in the season, coming off the Clemson game, team traveling across the country. That's a spot.
For sure. So yeah, I think it's I think I have one more team potentially making the playoff than you net.
Yeah.
And we're gonna add one more. And we haven't even gotten to the G5 yet. That's still trying to formulate that episode to do it right and not like it'll be a slightly different format than this
Mhm.
on Monday's show because we're not going to be mean. We're going to celebrate the group of five.
That's right. Yeah, we're not here to hate on the group of five. We're true sickos. We're not here for that.
Speaking of hate, a lot of people hate Notre Dame. So do Host or do Host.
Speaking of hate, a lot of people hate this team.
So do Host or do Host. Can Notre Dame win multiple playoff games? Look, I'm bullish on this team. I think they're going to be really good. I think anybody who's doing a top 25 ranking like is going to have them top eight. Like you
Mhm.
have to. Like it's too good. We really like Riley Leonard. We like the the Marcus Freeman. We obviously like the fact that they got Mike Denbrock to replace Jared Parker. Defense should be pretty good. Losing Charles Jagusa sucks and hurts the offensive line, but like Notre Dame's got a really high ceiling. We think they're a playoff contender, and we think Riley Leonard's a Heisman contender. So that paves the floor. Anything else I need to add there before we dive into this delicious question?
They also have a tremendously easy schedule. Like like Notre Dame not making the playoff would be every reason for everyone to just crap all over them because they, with this schedule, with the brand that Notre Dame has, they should absolutely just cakewalk into the playoff.
Yeah. Um, I have them going 12 and 0. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like that's and like even being high on Notre Dame, that says more about the schedule than it does about Notre Dame.
yes. So we feel it's a 12 and 0, 10 and 2 range. I don't think they can go 9 and 3. They're too good. So
Yeah.
like just going through with this. At Texas A&M, that's up in the air. You'll beat Northern Illinois. You'll win at Purdue. I like Miami, Ohio a lot out of the MAC. Probably still win that game. Louisville, Stanford, at Georgia Tech, that could be sneaky. You're going to beat Navy. You could play Navy underwater and beat them. That's such a waste of time.
You
I
could
know
put
that
injured Charles Chagusa at quarterback and beat Navy. Like you're going to be fine.
you could clone injured Charles Jagusa. He could play all every position. He would still beat Navy. Brian Newberry was like,
Exactly.
we can't tackle this guy. We're we're a service academy. He's a big boy.
That's a big man.
They got Florida State, Virginia, at Army. Again, another easy win. And then at the then you're at USC, and at that point, like Lincoln Riley will be he'll either reinvent himself or Jen Cohen's going to tell him to kick rocks.
Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, I mean it's a cakewalk there. So back to the original question, Duhas, can they win multiple playoff games? I'm actually going to go Duhas with one S. And part of that is obviously we believe in this Notre Dame team, what they're doing. Like, yes, the Jagusa injury hurts, but I still think that this team still is going to have a high, like a top half of the of college football offensive line. I still think this defense under Marcus Freeman is going to be firing all cylinders. We're super high on Riley Leonard. They've improved the receiving core. But the big thing with the success we expect Notre Dame to have with this schedule, I imagine them probably getting in as the 5 or 6 seed. Like
Yes.
that's absolutely. And so they're going to get a home game in the first round. That's huge for them. And they're probably going to be playing, like if they're the 5 seed, they're going to be playing probably the group of 5 champs. So that's one win. And then you're going to be playing either the Big 12 or the ACC champ, who are obviously who we've talked about. They are the two worst leagues. Like if Notre Dame was in the ACC, they would be a lot for me to win this conference. Like I think they're better than every team in the ACC. I think they're better than most teams in the Big 12. Like them versus Kansas State, if we have Kansas State getting into the 3 or 4 seed, like yeah, that could be an interesting game. Some things could happen, but like they still like Notre Dame's probably favored in that game. So like I think there's a chance. I'm not predicting it. I'm not saying they're going to, but I do think that there is a world like that is very foreseeable, very feasible for Notre Dame to win multiple playoff games.
Yes. I'm going to go do Haas with one S as well for the exact same reasons you said. They're going to be the 5 seed, in all honesty, with that schedule. So you're going to be 5-12. So you're going to be hosting essentially the G5 winner. Still have no idea where I'm going to go with that. I've kind of got my top 11 kind of figured out there for next Thursday's episode with this. Crazy exercise trying to put it all together. Again, ranking teams is more that's more your specialty. I'm more good at firing people.
Um, quick question. Do you have Texas State as your group of 5 champ like Brett McMurphy did? Because what a pull.
We do like GJ Kenny, but like they're in consideration. Maybe they'll play in like what the Sun Belt Championship, maybe, but like we'll definitely talk about them on Monday, but maybe
Yeah,
not right yet.
absolutely.
But I may go a safer route here with
Yeah.
the G5 champion here, and there's about 2 or 3 teams I'm really considering for that. And again, I don't know if I'm going to break down every game win or loss for that because I want to keep my brain.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, you're right. Notre Dame is probably going to be the 5 seed or the 6 seed in most instances. So 12 and 0, you're 5. If you're 11 and 1, you're probably 6.
Hmm.
You'll get docked for not playing the conference championship, but it would kind of be the same sort of thing. Like, what's an 11 and 1 team I have making the playoff or something like that? I did have to admit, yeah, I had Tennessee going 10 and 2. They're going to go 11 and 1, but Tennessee would be a comparable thing there, and I have a Tennessee probably like top eight or so in terms of like
Yeah,
making the playoffs. Like, yeah, Notre Dame, Tennessee, same sort of thing. So if you're the 5 seed, you're playing Liberty, Texas State, Miami, Ohio, Toledo, Boise, someone like that at
right.
home. And then you're going to go and then play probably either the Peach Bowl or like the Fiesta Bowl, depending on
Hmm.
like if the 4 seeds the ACC, it'll be the Peach Bowl. If it's the Big 12, it'll be the Fiesta Bowl. And if you're playing like Miami, NC State, K State, Oklahoma State, Utah, yeah, I think you can definitely win that game. So, but then it's like then you got to play like the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Oregons, and the Texases there in the semis, probably in like either the Orange or Cotton Bowl. And yeah, because once again you're going to get to the national semifinals, and that's going to be it. But yeah, Notre Dame's definitely in a position to win multiple playoff games for sure.
Oh yeah, let me be clear. When I say multiple, I mean two. Like two is
Yeah,
what I'm talking about. Like we're not talking about three or four. We're not talking about Notre Dame national championship, but like multiple in terms of winning the first and the second game of the playoff, they can absolutely do that.
yes. Just one other thought just come to me. I think this is good. So the top 4 teams, we all kind of know who they are between Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Oregon. Of those four, who could Notre Dame conceivably beat? Like, who could they conceivably upset?
If I mean, I'm gonna sound like a hater when I say this, but Ohio State would be my pick because I think that we've seen Ryan Day kind of. I mean, we saw Notre Dame almost beat Ohio State last year, and obviously Ohio State has upgraded, but so has Notre Dame. Notre Dame has gotten better since last year as well. And if they had 11 men on the line, they may have won that game last year in the final seconds. Like we talked about Mario in the not kneeling, but like that was another huge blunder that kind of got overlooked and overshadowed by the end of the year last year. But I do think that we've seen Ohio State and Ryan Day kind of underperform in a lot of big moments over his tenure to this point. The other thing that we've seen is we've seen Ohio State get pushed around. Michigan specifically pushing them around. Notre Dame is the type of team that can push you around. So like if Notre Dame comes in there with that right game plan, I think Ohio State is the one team out there. But like you look at a Texas, I don't think you're pushing Texas around. You look at Oregon with the guys Dan Lanning's brought in there and the way Dan Lanning is coaching them up, I don't think you're pushing them around. Georgia, that's a given. You're not pushing Georgia around. No one's pushing Georgia around. So like I think Ohio State's the one team that you can kind of push around potentially. Again, I'm not saying it's likely, but if you're making me pick up the four, I think it's Ohio State.
I think that's the correct answer. I think there's a clear delineation between 1 and 2. Uh, I think it's you're not beating Georgia and you're not beating Oregon. I think that they're both too physical and too fast out in the
Hmm.
perimeter. We know that Notre Dame, with their academic restrictions, like unless you have a Kyle Hamilton going to a Catholic school in Atlanta, Georgia, like that's how you get him. Like unless
Yeah.
you're getting players like that, they're not going to Notre Dame. They're going to go to Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, and Oregon. I would say it's Ohio State because like Chip Kelly of it all. I feel like he'll just
Yeah.
medal and stuff. I also wonder if Will Howard can really throw the football. There could be like being able to spread it. I feel getting pushed around again like by the Michigans of the world and the Oregons potentially. Again, they got to play in Eugene, so that's going to be challenging for
Hmm.
the Buckeyes as well. You have the Ducks winning there. I don't have them winning in you. I have them winning in Eugene, but yeah, it's close. The one thing with Texas is like, again, you wonder about the quarterback situation if Ewers could stay healthy. I also kind of wonder like maybe like attrition. Maybe they're kind of banged up as well. Like I said, losing CJ Baxter. I feel like there's a way, not necessarily that Sark will Sark it up or anything like that, but like
Yeah.
I just think that there's more bodies with Georgia and Oregon to go spread and then just really thwart Marcus Freeman. Plus, I think there's just a massive coaching advantage with with Kirby, Atlantic, and Sark, whereas maybe Ryan Day and Marcus is probably a little bit closer than expected.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good pool right there. Like I think there's a coaching discrepancy between the other three that's not necessarily there with Ohio State.
Maybe one more thing about Notre Dame and we can move on. Maybe thoughts about Riley Leonard. I think we probably need Riley Leonard or Marcus Freeman in general before we move on.
Yeah, so Riley Leonard, I mean, like I said previously, I if we were considering Notre Dame an ACC team just for, bookkeeping purposes, he'd be the number one contender to make it to New York as a Heisman candidate because Riley Leonard at Duke was Duke's offense. Like that offense was quite bad outside of him. Like they had a decent offensive line, obviously had guys like Graham Barton up there, but Riley Leonard made a lot of things happen. And we saw that when Riley Leonard went down and got hurt last year because Duke just fell off a cliff after that point. Like they could not move the football because Riley Leonard was not on the team. Riley Leonard is ultra dynamic as a runner, but I think he's very underrated as a passer in a way that we truly didn't get to see at Duke because Duke didn't have the guys at receiver. Again, I mentioned Notre Dame has improved their wide receiver core. I think it's going to be a big year for Riley Leonard. I think Riley Leonard is going to end up in this year as a first round pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Like I'm that high on him. I think he is probably like going to end up being in my top four quarterbacks if he does what I'm expecting him to this year. So like I'm extremely high on Riley Leonard. It's a guy who, whenever North Carolina played Duke, obviously a big rivalry game, I was terrified of every single time because he is the type of dude who can absolutely change a game by himself. And when you look at Notre Dame, they haven't had that guy in a very long time. Like, yes, they've had good college players like an Ian Book and previously, like in more recent years, but like we know that Ian Book was not an ultra talented player. Riley Leonard is an ultra talented player who also has that gamer mentality. So I do think the ceiling is just raised by having him at that position.
Yes, I think he's going to be a first round pick. I think there's going to be about five, depending on maybe six if Cam Ward really lives up to the hype there.
Hmm.
We'll see what happens with Jalen Milroe as well. But like, it's like Beck, you or Sanders, those are all pretty much like first round locks there. I would say
Yeah.
Leonard probably is as well. Riley Leonard's probably QB4 for me. I feel like he'll go to play for someone like the Jets or the Rams or
Yeah.
Seahawks, someone like that who's like going to be,
Ooh.
fringe playoff team, Steelers, something like that. Like,
You've got me excited about him on the Rams. Him working with Sean McVay, learning behind Stafford, like that could be something nice.
yeah, he could be on your team too if you let Dak go. I mean, I know Trey Lance is really exciting too, but he's going to a team like that.
Trey Lance
Somewhere,
is not exciting to me, brother. I assure you of that.
nah, honestly, just whatever. Just North Dakota State. What if I told you the best North Dakota State quarterback to ever play there was Easton Stick?
That's a tough beat for the Bison. I'll tell you that right now.
It's Bison with a Z. Zzz.
Z, the Bison.
Flying below the bees there. But yeah, I would say I, I feel like Riley Leonard is probably going to get to New York. I would say if we kick this out to five, which we'll do on next Thursday, I would say he's probably going to make the cut there. I don't know
Mhm.
if he'll be on my ballot with the top three if I had one, but like very much in consideration there. I guess the last thought about this with Notre Dame is Marcus Freeman. Is he going to take this team to where it needs to go? Like he's got a cool factor, but like I kind of wonder though, like with Brian Kelly, I kind of felt like there's a little bit more maybe not season, maybe season's the right word, but like more control. Like when it's good, like he doesn't like the variance isn't too much there. Like Notre Dame wouldn't do dumbass. And I feel with Marcus Freeman, there's a little bit of a Shane Beamer dumbass there.
No, and I do think that there's good reason for that. Like we saw the first year of Marcus Freeman and it did not go well. And then we saw last year, which it went well, but there were also still those moments. Like I've already mentioned, the Ohio State game where on the biggest play of the game, you send out 10 defensive players on the defensive line at the goal line. So like there is a little bit of that factor, but ultimately I do think Marcus Freeman's just a good coach. Like we've seen him recruit at a high level, and I think the big key is like it's not Mario Cristobal where he's getting guys into the building and then not developing them, not making them into something. He's shown a real ability to do that. Like he had even last year, like one of the things that really impressed me is I think Sam Hartman had a harder time adjusting, moving on from the slow mesh than most people realized. And Notre Dame was able to mask that quite a bit. And like that, a lot of, yes, that comes down to partially offensive coordinator, but like at the end of the day, it's also the head coach's decision to change things up and put Sam Hartman in a position to succeed. So the fact that he's able to adjust and make those adjustments on the fly is really, it makes me more optimistic about Marcus Freeman than probably I should be, but I'm a fan.
Yes, I believe Jack Swarbrick had a lot of confidence of hiring him from within. And then Pete Bavacqua. Yeah, I remember how to say that. Like
That's
they got
right.
it, they got a good one there. Again, he's like Kirby. He's learning how to do this on the fly. There's just it presented itself like he's going to be a stud here. I think everybody that played with him at Ohio State knew this guy
Yeah.
was going to be a stud. With Notre Dame having the type of season that we all think it's going to be, I certainly hope so. But we're going to move on from one alpha male to another. Yes, it still moves. We are bringing back the Antonio Banderas Bowl of the Week, baby. I am so effing excited.
Dude, week zero, honestly the best thing about week zero, for being real honest. Like it's the thing I'm most excited for. So I gotta tell you, the last we saw Antonio, he was just wandering through Ashland, Oregon, We didn't know where he was going. We thought it might be gone forever. We honestly did. We didn't know if this segment was going to happen because we didn't know if Antonio. But a couple weeks ago, I was driving down to Albuquerque, and on the side of the road, I saw a figure, and I was like, that guy looks familiar. Have I like I don't know many gypsies, vagrants that are walking down the road. I was like, who is this guy wearing a poncho? And I pulled over, and it was Antonio, and he just looked at me and he said, Yeri, and I said Jones, and he said Kill. And he said he's just looking for Jerry Kill. And I was like, well, brother, he's in Nashville now with your boy Diego Pavia. And so he hopped in the car and we've got Antonio back. We're ready to ride, man.
Yeah, I know. We just ran into him, and he flew back from Albuquerque to Atlanta before we crossed the pond. So he crossed the pond of dirt, and he's gonna cross the pond again. So we did try to say like we're not gonna go to Nashville because birthdays, but we'll go back there at some point, I'm sure.
That's right.
um, but I was sitting there saying like, okay, you got your passport ready, I got mine. Arizona State Podcast needs to get hers fixed here soon because we can't go to Mexico if we don't get that figured out. Um,
Correct.
but I'm like, how are we going to fly across the pond with this anthropomorphic blow up doll who's just an absolute party animal? And then I realized, well, he was born in Spain or manufactured in China. But the point is, like, yeah, the EU or Brexit, whatever. Yeah, I guess Ireland's part of the EU, so I guess we could go over there. But he's all
I,
about it, dude.
I barely know American politics. Whatever's going on in European politics, that's above my pay grade.
So yes, we are going to be going to Ireland for the Aer Lingus game between the Florida State Seminoles and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets to kick off Week 0. We thought about going to Delaware State, but at Hawaii, but the poor Hornets couldn't even fly across the pond and then across an ocean.
Yeah, I mean, if the Hornets can't do it, then we had no chance. So, we definitely couldn't do that.
Yes, we're trying to refigure this whole thing with Antonio Banderas. So basically, like for those at home who don't understand what this is, so we were trying to come up with a segment of like, okay, we want a sickos committee sort of bowl, but if there's a big game where it's like it's very obvious that we would want to go there, we're going there. And the Antonio Banderas Bowl of the week is like, you want to go to this game, you're excited about it, nobody else does, so you need a carpool partner, so you get your Antonio Banderas blow up doll, from South Park, and then just go have a good time. And then Antonio became a party animal. But what did he tell you about Ireland? What's he excited about with Ireland?
So the first thing he's excited about is I think walking through Albuquerque, he may have had a run-in with a cactus. I saw some patches on the blow-up doll, and he's just excited for a lot of grass. Grass is harmless, and we know Ireland's green as can be. So I think he's excited for the landscape, the scenery. He wants to frolic a little bit. He's a frolicker. That's what I've always said about him. And yeah, I think that's probably number one up there. But I'm sure there's more than that he's not letting on, which scares me.
Yes, there's a couple of things he told me. Number one, he's excited to take a bath. He saw the Irish Spring commercial, and he's like, Bulldog.
Bulldog.
The other thing is, he's a big fan of Thin Lizzy with
Hmm.
whiskey in the jar, and that's autobiographical for him. The thing is, like, he doesn't actually die. He didn't end up in prison fighting people in the Cork and Kerry Mountains, if you will. But yes, Antonio, what a legend. The other thing is he really likes the brown milkshake beer, but he can't say it. The one with the G. How does he say that, Cody?
Oh, that's Guinness. He loves the Guinness. And God bless him, he's trying, but yeah, he splits the G every time. It's kind of unbelievable, uncanny how good he is at it on his first sip, splitting the G on the pint glass. But yeah, we're gonna have our work cut out for him limiting him on the Guinness. I honestly think we're probably gonna be unsuccessful.
I mean, he's going to be overserved, and he's going to be. I try to explain to him like, okay, there's completely different dynamics here. Okay, so if you want to party, like you're gonna have a good time with both Georgia Tech and Florida State peeps. Those people are good,
Yes.
but like, do you want to wear a bandana for a shirt, or do you want to wear a lab coat? And you got to figure out which side you're on there.
I mean, honestly, he's probably just gonna keep the poncho on. If we're like, that's more his vibe.
He is the Sigma Nu poncho guy after all.
Absolutely, man.
But yes, I'm really excited about this game. Again, we're going to be coming to you semi-live after it with 3 yards and a cloud punt. We're going to do two things called, we're going to do a Marty ball. So run, run, pass, punt. Run is like, we're each going to have like something we're running with, like, yes. Pass for like, and then punt, we're just going to get it out of there. So we have no idea what we're going to be talking about on Saturday, but it's going to be an absolute blast. I don't know if we're going to reference San Antonio maybe a little bit more. We're still in the midst of what's going on. We got some debauchery that may happen after the game, and hopefully we don't have to bail them out. That would suck.
Yeah, an Irish prison, high key, not really where I want to be spending any time, and I'm hoping Antonio feels the same.
I know, dude. This was episode 102 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. Like, rate. You can follow the show at CFP False Start too. Yeah, I always forget that. You can also like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, anywhere there's podcasts. We're on YouTube now. All four of our three, about to be four of our preview shows are up there. We'll have G5 and we'll really get into the season. I'm so glad that Cody was able to figure this out and he's going to teach me things. But probably one of us has to be inebriated because that's the only way we can teach or learn in this working relationship.
100%, dude. Like if we're, yeah, we can't go into this sober.
No, not at all. No way. If I should fall from grace with God, and this is false start.